Ja'Marr Chase, Justin Jefferson, and Garrett Wilson will be just fine without their starting quarterbacks. Maybe even better for the former two. We reveal our Week 3 wide receiver fantasy rankings on today's episode of Locked On Fantasy Football.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NFL fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Fantasy Football Podcast. Thank you for making us your first listen every day. I'm one of your co-hosts, Michelle Magdziuk, and when I'm not doing this, I'm a researcher and fantasy analyst for the NFL Network.
And I'm your other co-host, Vinnie Iyer. When I'm not doing this, I'm writing about NFL fantasy and betting for sportingnews.com.
Today is Crossover Thursday on the network, and Crossover Thursday is presented by Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Today is the time to go through our wide receiver rankings for Week 3. We've already done quarterbacks, tight ends on Tuesday. We did running backs on yesterday's show. So today will be our last positional rankings before we get into our sleepers and some DFS funness on tomorrow's show. Right at the top, I mean, we have a lot of quarterback injuries this week, right? Joe Burrow is out. We have JJ McCarthy out. We have Justin Fields out. We're waiting to hear about Brock Purdy and Jaden Daniels, but we're not worried about Ja'Marr Chase or Justin Jefferson. You have Ja'Marr Chase, number 1. I am number 2. You have Justin Jefferson, number 3. I am number 4. I just have CeeDee Lamb, number 1, because I absolutely love his matchup against the Bears, and he has Dak Prescott, right? So they're both absolutely fantastic. That's why I have Lamb first. You have Lamb second. It really doesn't matter. Like, you have those guys, you're plugging them in. Don't get scared about which quarterback is throwing them the ball. But then I actually have Nico Collins, number 3. And I think that is risky, right? And it is kind of a bold take right now because through 2 weeks, he's not putting up the production we wanted to see from him. But I really love this matchup for him against the Jaguars, who just give up so many points to the wide receivers. And I think he gets it done. I mean, he's still getting the targets in the end zone looks.
Yeah, really, there's not much else going on for this offense, to be honest. I mean, he did come through with the touchdown. And nice play there against the Buccaneers. So you got going from the Week 1 disappointment. The Jaguars is not anything too scary in the secondary in this matchup. It's hard to know if it's going to be a higher scoring or lower scoring game. It seems like the Texans have been dragging down some teams with them, right? The Rams and the Buccaneers into some ugly contests. That's my only concern is will they turn into like an ugly defensive game? You can see the Jaguars doing that as well, but Nico Collins will get his. Of all the people that can help the Texans move the ball, you feel the most confident in him. I mean, you're not looking at other receivers. You're not looking at a tight end. The running backs are hit and miss too. Like you need a touchdown there to really come through with Nick Chubb. So he is their offense right now. He's the only playable Texan that you can feel good about. I guess if you want to look at their defense, you can consider that as well, but it is on the road in Jacksonville. So again, Collins is just going to get so much volume in his direction that he's going to be an easy shot to finish as a top 5 wide receiver in a lot of weeks.
And last year, both of these matchups against the Jaguars, he went off. So I fully expect his first huge game to come this week. Now, at number 4 for you, Puka Nacua, he's my number 5. He's been absolutely fantastic. Yeah. You're so happy if you drafted him. Another guy you're really happy if you drafted is Jaxon Smith-Njigba, and he hasn't scored a touchdown yet. So like it hasn't been monster fantasy days, but the production and the targets he's seeing in this offense. So I have him at wide receiver 6. You have him at 8. Great matchup against the Saints. And I think this is the week he should come down with his first touchdown. He has over 10 targets in both games, over 100 yards in both of the first 2 weeks. And I just think he keeps going.
Yeah, there was a concern how much would the targets keep going to him with the quarterback change from Geno Smith. Geno kept throwing him in the middle of the field to Sam Darnold, but then it made a lot of sense because Darnold liked throwing a lot to Jordan Addison in that position in Minnesota. And then you look elsewhere, right? Their next best receiver right now is not Cooper Kupp. It looks like it's Torrey Horton, the rookie, who's making the big plays where we were worried about this, right? Was Cooper Kupp going to be redundant in his role with Jaxon Smith-Njigba? The bottom line is Cooper Kupp is washed here. And JSN is the real receiver that we're looking at all over the field. Again, can work inside. he's just exploded all around. So again, he's going to be rather consistent play. The Saints, look, a terrible defense overall, especially against the pass. So he should keep getting it done. And look, JSN, he's going to be one of the more consistent guys because he's going to get the targets. He's not going to always get that score, as Michelle said. He's not known yet as a big scorer. But I think, again, I like him very much like Amon-Ra St. Brown, right? We now know that St. Brown can score like anything. I think it's going to start slowly for JSN. Then once he's established as a veteran go-to guy, you'll see those touchdowns come.
Now, Malik Neighbors is your number 5. He's at number 7. A huge week last week. He's the top target there, the top weapon. Obviously, Wan'Dale Robinson's great too, at least as of last week. We can talk about him later, but no questions there with him. Same thing with Amon-Ra St. Brown. But then we get to my number 9, and it's Garrett Wilson, and he's going to have Tyrod Taylor as his quarterback this week. And I think it might even be better for him than Justin Fields, right? Like Justin Fields we saw last week, he had 27 passing yards. And he didn't get concussed until there's 2 drives left of the game. But Tyrod Taylor only played the last 2 drives. And it was with Tyrod Taylor that he actually had more receiving yards in that game, more receptions on just those 2 drives with him. He had 3 receptions, 32 yards on 2 drives with Taylor, and then just 1 reception for 18 yards with Fields in that game. So I think he's perfectly fine to play this week. I think he actually has a good game in a good matchup against the Buccaneers. So I'm excited to play him this week, and I think it might be better than having Fields out there.
Yeah, I mean, they can't get too much worse with their passing game. It was almost teetering on historic lows in a particular game. Look, the Bills were just coming out and flying around and probably just wanted to get that game over with after the wild game in week 1. Look, the Buccaneers are not a shutdown defense right now. I mean, they're not. I mean, they can't let the Texans come back. They let the Falcons operate with a lead. So don't think that they're the old Bucs defense. I'm not talking about 2002. I'm just talking about the recent Super Bowl with Tom Brady. A lot of those pieces are gone. They can still stop the run, but that also says they're going to have to put it up in the air a little bit. So Brees Hall might be contained when he's running to the inside, but Taylor is also a mobile quarterback who can move around and extend plays for Garrett Wilson. So, yeah, the veteran quarterback should help here with Garrett Wilson. You'll probably keep it no nonsense, but really I think that's the whole nature of the offense because the Jets really don't have a lot of receiving reliability beyond this player.
Now you have T. Higgins, number 9. So I'm also confident in T. Higgins this week too, even though it's going to be Jake Browning out there. I think in this matchup against the Vikings, like there should be scoring on both sides, even though there's going to be a backup quarterback on both sides with Carson Wentz and Jake Browning. But like you have T. Higgins all the way up number 9. I didn't put him that high. I have him at 13, but I think he's still a guy that you should trust in your lineup. But one guy you really like that hasn't been producing a ton. It's DK Metcalf. You have him all the way at wide receiver 10 against the Patriots. And I also really like him this week at wide receiver 14. Patriots are giving up a ton of passing yards this season, a ton of points to wide receivers. Their secondary has not been good. Week 1, it was an okay game. He got his 4 receptions, 83 yards, but no touchdown. He got the touchdown in week 2, but only 3 receptions, 20 yards. So he kind of needs to put those 2 performances together. And you're saying he's going to do that this week.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the Patriots secondary, they woke up the Dolphins, and they finally got a big play. The Dolphins did from Tyreek Hill stretching the field. And then you go back to week 1. I mean, Jacoby Myers was a hard cover for the Patriots as well. So you figure this is going to be a very hard guy to stop, DK Metcalf downfield. It should be a rather high-scoring game. Both defenses have also not played all that well out of the gate to Pittsburgh and New England. It's kind of weird to say that because these used to be like 2 of the tougher defenses in the league. But now there's definitely something to say that there's going to be points to be had in this game. I think Aaron Rodgers knows that they kind of blew one with some mistakes against the Seahawks. So he'll come back, want to play well, and take care of things on the road in New England. And then you look on the other side, Drake May and that group should put up some points. So, again, that all lines up well for DK Metcalf. But, yeah, he'll put it all together at one point. But, again, he's in a great situation with his talent being the top target, with Rodgers being able to get him the ball downfield. That'll happen a lot more this week.
Absolutely. We're going to get to more of our wide receiver rankings, get a little bit down the ranks here into our wide receiver 2s, guys that we still feel that you can plug in and feel safe about, just not as high of upside as the guys we just talked about. So we'll get to that right after a quick break.
This episode, Locked On Fantasy Football, is brought to you by Mazda. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride, with more IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus awards than anyone else as of August 2025. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details. Mazda brings the same intention to how we craft every model. You can make everyday drives feel like anything but, from smooth handling to intuitive controls with all-wheel drive standard every crossover SUV. You can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like our players out there with our fantasy teams, we're sweating every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. All right, Michelle, it is time to dive into more of our wide receiver rankings here in the second segment of our show. And we talked about DK Metcalf rounding out our top 10-ish right now. There's a couple of second-year guys that were really good as rookies, but they're disappointing. So let's start with one. It's Ladd McConkey. Look, I think it's just a matter of where's Quentin Johnston and Keenan Allen going to go here with this game. Now, Allen has scored in back-to-back games. Johnson as well, making the big plays. McConkey has been solid, but he's not been treated as a go-to guy yet, despite better volume and execution from Justin Herbert. So what do you think of this matchup against the Broncos? There's a chance to get open, because I think maybe there's a half a chance he won't see Pat Surtain too for most of this game.
Yeah, I think Pat Surtain will be more focused on the outside on either Quentin Johnston or, Keenan Allen when he's out there. But I do think this will be a Ladd McConkey game out of this group. And that's why I have him ranked the highest. I think this is his day that he's going to shine while it's been Quentin Johnston and Keenan Allen. So I have McConkey all the way at wide receiver 11. You have him at 19, so it's not like you're burying him after a couple lower weeks. But he did have those 9 targets in week 1. Week 2 is just kind of a weird game. I mean, the Raiders just couldn't do anything, so it's not like the Chargers had to throw a ton. So I'm not worried about week 2. He caught all 5 targets for 5 receptions, 48 yards. But I think he ends up having a really solid game this week. But one guy I am worried about, and we're not burying him either, but maybe we should be, it's Brian Thomas Jr. I mean, come on, man. He's getting the targets. He had 12 targets last week, but only 4 receptions, 49 yards. And you can't put it all on Trevor Lawrence, right? Because there's these balls that he could go try to catch at least, but he's not going out there. He's scared to get hit. I mean, saw it multiple times in week 2 that he really chose, keeping his body safe instead of getting hit. And that's his prerogative, right? If he doesn't want to take those big body shots, but it's really destroying his fantasy value, especially like he's getting looks in the end zone and he's not coming down with them either. We could see Derek Stingley Jr. on him, who was able to shut down Mike Evans pretty well this last week. I have him at 15. You have him at 14. I don't want to play him, even though I have him ranked that high.
Yeah, it's a tough situation, because looking at his rookie season, he just looked like gangbusters, and I get it. Some of that was with Mac Jones. It was in a different offense. But by the way, Michelle, Liam Cohen's starting to become one of our annoying coaches at this point. Look, all over the place with the backfield. We didn't know where we were going. And then all of a sudden, Bigsby's totally out of the mix. And Tuden's playing with Travis Etienne. Etienne still produced and all that. But we don't know what you're going to get from this team from week to week. And Diami Brown all of a sudden is making the big plays at wide receiver. That's very frustrating so far. When you look at Travis Hunter, where's Travis Hunter to make these plays? Like, we're talking about how good of a receiver he is. He's not playing all that much on defense. So this is just an extension of that. Maybe Brian Thomas Jr. getting a feel for what's going on. Maybe it's similar to what Ben Johnson's doing with the Bears, like just kind of trying to figure it out. But the wrist injury, look, if he's already hurt, that tell us a little bit about it, right? Like, don't make us guess, because we don't have no idea if he's healthy or not. And now it came out that he was trying to maybe protect that injury or not get further hurt here. So look, the talent eventually is going to get there. This is not the easiest spot for him against the Texans, but they got to get him going. Like, if this team wants to get to where it wants to be, score enough points, Brian Thomas Jr. has to be an integral part. So I'm tempering expectations, but I want to be cautiously optimistic about it.
Yeah, if I'm able to sit him for a week, I want to, especially now with the injury news. You're right. But it's probably gonna be hard. You draft him super early and you might not have better options. But if there's been a guy that surprised, right, that you took later, like a Keenan Allen type of player, I'm willing to change that out. Now, two other guys that have been disappointing, A.J. Brown and Drake London. Drake London's, week one, he got 15 targets, right? And the targets did go way down in week two with just 4 targets, 3 receptions, 49 yards. But the yards were pretty much the same no matter what the targets he had. And then A.J. Brown just got no targets week one. And then week two did get 8 targets, but only ended up coming up with 5 for 27 yards per reception at 5.4. We're not seeing those downfield targets for A.J. Brown. Who do you feel more confident can have a big week this week and kind of have that big first performance? Is it A.J. Brown against the Rams or Drake London against the Panthers?
Well, I think it's an easy question for me. It's A.J. Brown. I mean, the Eagles just need some competition. And I think with Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams coming in red hot with Matthew Stafford, there'll be some plays to be had. I mean, Cooper DeJean and Quinion Mitchell can't be everywhere. They have a weakness. They're in the secondary. So I think the Rams are going to be somewhat competitive in this game. They're both 2-0 teams here. So if those two receivers wake up, I think it's going to help the Eagles receivers wake up a little bit. The Rams' young secondary can be burned a little bit. So I think they need to start Eagles needing to be a little bit more aggressive with the passing game. You're just not going to run and hide with Saquon Barkley, although Barkley did explode against the Rams on the ground last year. So I guess it's possible that could happen. But look, they don't want a situation where A.J. Brown is spectating. They're paying him a lot of money. They need him to make some plays here, and this is the ideal game to get him going. So I feel great about A.J. Brown. Now, Drake London, there's one thing about getting opportunity and getting the targets. There's one thing about actually executing and being good. And, look, Drake London is becoming a uber frustrating version of Mike Evans in terms of not coming through inefficient with the ball and the opportunities, not getting the touchdowns we need, not getting the big plays we need. So at least Mike Evans would come through more consistently with touchdowns. I think everyone wants him to get going this season as well. But Drake London's got to do a lot more. For the size he has, for the opportunity, the talent, he should be producing a lot more. And maybe we'll see it, but I don't know. The Panthers, they do have one corner, J.C. Horn. Look, I think the targets are going to keep coming his way, but I could also see them pivoting to Kyle Pitts or throwing a lot more to Bijan Robinson out of the backfield.
Yeah, I think with the Panthers, you can just run all over them. And they might seem like an easy defense for wide receivers, but I mean, they've been stopping wide receivers this year. Jacksonville nor the Cardinals had big passing games or any, big receivers out of those games. So I think they will just run, like you said, all over them with Bijan and Tyler Algier, and they won't really need those guys. And when they do need a pass, they're really bad against the tight ends. So Kyle Pitts should have a pretty solid game. So I lean A.J. Brown there too. And we do have them both ranked way higher than Drake London. We both have A.J. Brown ranked as our wide receiver 16, with Drake London at your wide receiver 21 and Drake London at my wide receiver 24. Now, Zay Flowers has been on fire. We both have him ranked high. You have him at 11. I have him at 12. He gets the Lions at home. You keep plugging him in. He seems like he's been a really great draft pick for fantasy managers this year. A guy you have ranked higher than normal so far this year is Tetairoa McMillan. We got a rookie here all the way at wide receiver 15 up against the Falcons. I have him at wide receiver 20, so I also like him this week. But a great game last week. 6 receptions, 100 yards. He's had at least 9 targets in both games. You keep plugging him in, right?
Yeah, the Falcons, you look at them, and I think their defense a little overachieved in Minnesota with what they were doing with the pass rush and all that. And they're not terrible in coverage with A.J. Terrell there. But my thing with Tetairoa is he's going to get the targets here. Look, I know they involved Hunter Renfrow and Jatavion Sanders in the previous game, but McMillan is the clear go-to guy. And there's something going on between him and Bryce Young. As much as we want to knock Bryce Young, it was a terrible week 1 there, but week 2 is rather fruitful. I think he was right up there with, of course, as we all know, Russell Wilson and Jared Goff among the top fantasy football scorers at quarterback last week. So Bryce Young, look, the sleeper part of him came through last week. He still missed a lot of throws. He still looked a little off. But, he put up the numbers last week, and a lot of it was McMillan, and seems to just have a good connection with him. I think having now the security blanket type players, I think he's found his new Adam Thielen and Renfro, and then also having Sanders. I think it helps McMillan quite a bit, and they're scheming him open well in Dave Canales' offense with Brad Idzik. So I do like this a lot, and McMillan will just be steady every week. I think he's going to give you wide receiver 2 production. He'll spike up once he gets his first NFL touchdown and more to wide receiver 1 in the top 12.
All right, let's take a quick break, and then we'll get through the rest of our wide receiver rankings, including what in the world to do with Marvin Harrison Jr. Can we trust him? Can we not? One great week, one terrible week so far throughout the season. What is he going to do in week 3? We'll get to that after we hear from a couple of our sponsors.
All right, I'm happy to tell you that this episode of Locked On Fantasy Football is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Caffeine just got a flavor upgrade. 5 Hour Energy shots deliver tasty caffeine in 17 bold flavors. Each 2-ounce shot packs the caffeine of a premium 12-ounce cup of coffee, plus B vitamins and nutrients with 0 sugar and 0 crashes. What I love most about how portable they are is just the big tastes that are in that tiny shot. You can take it anywhere and get that boost when you need it from 5 Hour Energy. Look, they have so many different flavors, so it's like having a little bit of a barista for you on the go to get you through your day. And it's really great because, again, we all are looking for a boost in the middle of the day. 5 Hour Energy is going to provide that. And now with a fun new flavor with caffeine. Enough with boring, flavorless caffeine. It's time to give your caffeine a flavor upgrade with 5 Hour Energy shots. Get the favorites you love, or be bold and try something new in-store and online. Only at www.5hourenergy.com. Again, that's 5hourenergy.com or on Amazon today.
This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the daily fantasy app where making the right call can actually pay off. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right means cashing in. Prize Picks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and you can turn your takes into real prizes all in less than 60 seconds. It's quick, easy, and honestly, it's one of the best ways to follow along with football. This week, they have an upcoming max discount of Patrick Mahomes, 0.5 passing yards. So you just have to have more than one. You just have to hit 1 passing yard, right? And that's a free person to put in your fantasy lineup. You can just add another player projection, or you can do 5 more player projections there to try to cash in more money. Just download the Prize Pick app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. All right, Vinny, let's continue our wide receiver rankings for week 3. And Marvin Harrison Jr. continues to be one of the hardest guys to rank. He was prior to the season to figure out his season-long ranks. He was in week 1, and he ended up having a good game, mostly due to a 45-yard long reception. Outside of that, it hasn't been inspiring. Week 2, only 2 receptions, 27 yards on 5 targets. He gets the 49ers this week. They had their defense isn't elite, but they do have some solid outside corners. So I don't love playing Marvin Harrison Jr. I don't see this coming to fruition of him being a great fantasy asset until they get a new play caller in Arizona.
Yeah, and maybe just a new quarterback, but that's another story. Someone who can get him the ball more consistently. But right now he seems very heavily, unlike Tetairoa McMillan, he seems very dependent on big plays and touchdowns to cash its fantasy value. Now, there's some other receivers like that, but when we're talking about other receivers like that, those are like the big play threats, right? I mean, the Jameson Williams types who are consistent at doing that one job well, where Marvin Harrison is inconsistent seemingly all round. And the hype he came in with in this league, like talk about McConkey and Neighbors and Thomas and all these other things, but the hype that Harrison had was way off the charts, and maybe he's just going to peak as a wide receiver 2 here for a while until further notice. And we're okay with that, but we both have him pretty low. I'm at 20, you have at 20 or 22 here. So I think,
and I still think that's too high.
Yeah, that's about where I think the ceiling is. Like if he gets there, it's fine, but he can also get there with very low volume, right? He could see like 1 touchdown and get like 5 catches for 47 yards, and we could still be there, right? So he's okay he's the number one, but he should be a lot more productive for that status he has. Like, he should be like McMillan, a little bit more consistent in what you've given him. He should have been the McMillan of last year, but apparently McMillan might just be a better player all around with his routes and hands and is going to be more valued. And maybe he's just also benefiting from a better offense that knows how to take advantage of his play.
Now, one guy I really like this week, I'm much higher on him than you. It's Odunze at wide receiver 17. You have him down at wide receiver 29. I love his matchup, and it seems like Caleb Williams is able to actually connect with Odunze and nobody else in this offense. When he's targeting Odunze, he has all 3 of his passing touchdowns have gone to Odunze this year. He has 132 passer rating, averaged nearly 9 passing yards per attempt, and is actually able to connect with him. And all other guys, he's just completely struggling with averaging 5.4 yards per attempt, having a 65 passer rating, 0 touchdowns, and an interception when targeting everyone else but Odunze. So we've seen 2 good weeks from him now. Like I said, 3 touchdowns. He has 20 targets over these 2 weeks. And I think you just got to keep rolling with him. But DJ Moore, on the other hand, is he startable, Vinny? Because he's averaging 7 points per game this year and only has 11 targets through 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think Odunze, as we mentioned, had the profile of maybe being the go-to guy for the Ben Johnson offense. And Ben Johnson's called out his team. He was disappointed about how they're playing, all this stuff. And there was is Tom Brady checking out their team for next week, all this stuff. So Ben Johnson is not afraid to speak his mind and give you a few more ideas. Now, he did kind of gloss Odunze before the season, and DJ Moore, we didn't hear a lot of praise. We didn't hear anything either way about DJ Moore, but this is also going back to last year with Caleb Williams, right? He wasn't helping him out. So he just could be checked out of this team totally, right? I mean, he just may not want to be a part of it. Yeah, maybe he's not startable until he can buy a ticket out of town here, because again, they're easily moving on to other guys. They have enough guys to spread it around and not force the ball into DJ Moore, especially in a great matchup against the Cowboys this week, where a lot of the field will open up there for Caleb Williams. So, Odunze, just the younger guys in general are the future here. We'll see Colston Loveland and Luther Burden slowly see some looks, and maybe that's the reason they'll move DJ Moore, to get these younger guys more involved in their offense. But yeah, it can't just be the Zacchaeus Odunze show for Williams, but I just don't think it's ever going to be the Moore show for him with the 2 years of sample size we have now.
I will say, like, if you're rostering DJ Moore, this is the game to play him. This is the matchup to play him. I mean, the Cowboys got destroyed by both Malik Neighbors and Wan'Dale Robinson last week. They both scored over 24 points in half PPR. So I do think he's playable this week. And if he can't do it this week, then I don't know what we're going to do with DJ Moore. Now, to go through some of these, I'm going to ask you some either or questions. Terry McLaurin against the Raiders, or Jakobi Meyers against the Commanders in the same matchup? You have Meyers actually quite a bit higher in your rankings. I have them back to back. I can't decide. I keep switching them. I think Meyers is much safer, while obviously we know McLaurin has a much higher ceiling.
Yeah, I mean, the question is, can he push for that ceiling if Marcus Mariota starts? And the way the offense is, it's already been rather compressed for the Commanders. So I think regardless of if it's Daniels or Mariota, I think their best bet is going to be, once again, through Zach Ertz and Deebo Samuel moving the ball for a while until they can get things going downfield. If Mariota, of course, can't extend plays the same way, knows athletic, but he's not the same play extender that Daniels is with his athleticism. So that's also going to hurt potentially the downfield passing there. Well, Jakobi Meyers, look, he's solid. I know the Chargers were tough for him, but overall, like, he is their go-to guy. Geno Smith likes him. I think in the middle of the field working on the Commanders is going to be helpful as a big slot there. So, and I also think the Commanders might be in control of this game a little bit, even with Mariota starting potentially, because they'll run the ball, they'll have some success, build a lead, maybe make a few plays on defense. So I think that's going to open up a lot of volume in general for Jakobi Meyers. And again, a solid receiver, especially when he's getting the work.
Yeah, I think I definitely, not like talking through it, if you just need the save points, Meyers is the way to go. 22 targets throughout 2 weeks. Like you said, he is Geno Smith's go-to guy. He needs to catch a touchdown, though, and he struggled with that through his career, with 0 touchdowns throughout the season, but he should be able to do it against the Commanders this week. Now, would you go with George Pickens against the Bears? Great matchup against the Bears. The Bears secondary stinks, and Jalen Johnson is injured and will be out their best corner. Or Quentin Johnston, who has been just killing it. I mean, can't stop catching those touchdowns against the Broncos, which is obviously a much tougher matchup than the Bears. I'm leaning George Pickens. I think Johnson this week could be a trap play. I think if he could see a good amount of Surtain, just making sure he doesn't wreck the game with a long touchdown. And I think this week is the week that Johnson just completely fails.
Yeah, I think going back to the lad McConkey thing is I think the Broncos give up a lot more in the middle of the field and all that kind of stuff because we've seen it with Tyler Warren, more of a contained type passing game that they had going back to week one. It was pretty compressed for the Titans against the Broncos. The middle of the field is going to be where it's at. That's not going to help Johnson well. You can't throw deep on the Bears. We saw Jameson Williams made the big play on them. Jalen Johnson, as you mentioned, is down. I mean, that really makes the Bears secondary rather weak here. So there'll be opportunities for big play. You expect Javonte Williams to run well, therefore setting up play action and the attention that CeeDee Lamb's going to get. So it all adds up to Pickens easily with that toss-up.
And last question for you here. Are you going with rookie Alec Manor from the Titans against the Colts or Tyquan Thornton against the Giants? Thornton is just like the only thing that's working for the Chiefs offense, but it's one or two plays a game, right? And you just got to hope for that long touchdown. And with Io Manor, he's actually getting a very heavy target share in his offense. He leads all rookie wide receivers with a 23% target share. And listen, it was an okay game last week. 6 targets, 4 receptions, 56 yards, and a touchdown. I do keep expecting Io Manor to keep getting better throughout his rookie season. I liked him as a prospect coming out of Stanford. And Troy Franklin just had a big game against the Colts last week. So I lean Io Manor. Are you going with Io Manor or Thornton?
Yeah, I don't want any part of Tyquan Thornton. I think this is it's all going to come together. Again, I liken him to Justin Watson. They needed him to make a big play in the game, and he did. And he basically is playing that Justin Watson role. I think you'll see the Chiefs go back to some bread and butter here with Travis Kelce, maybe work the middle of the field a little bit better, run the ball, and just try to get out of there with a win, right? They just need to get to 1 and 2. Well, I think the Titans are just in evaluation mode. They're going to see as much as Io Manor as they can with Cam Ward, especially when that's a good combination working. Look, Cam Ward needed him to get going in week 2, and they scored touchdowns with him involved. So there's no doubt that he's going to be involved against the Colts.
Yes, absolutely. All right. That is it for today's show. That's it for our positional rankings for week 3. We'll be back tomorrow to go through our favorite sleepers of the week and favorite DFS plays of the week. So don't miss that episode. I want to thank you all for making Locked On Fantasy your first listen of the day. For your second listen, check out the Locked On NFL podcast. Tyler the Madman Rowland gives you a shot of espresso to start your football day, while Tony Wiggins takes you into the barbershop for the smoothest breakdowns to the end of the day. Find Locked On NFL on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye, y'all.